Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Evening, right? This is different
It's
for
very
us.
different. We're not used to this. We usually do this on Fridays afternoon. Yeah, this week we're
Here we
gonna
are,
be doing an evening one.
kicking off a brand new month
Hi guys, how you
and changing
doing?
up the vibes.
How are you doing? What are you up to? We're gonna give you guys a few minutes to come in.
Come on in.
If you are watching the replay, hello and welcome to our
Welcome,
channel.
welcome.
If this is your first time, we hope that you find whatever you need. Here he comes. We have
We
an
got our special guest
amazing guest tonight. We have been excited about this conversation coming. So Brendan Frame, the founder of The Black
Black Man Can.
ManCan.
That's
We
what he's joining us
excited.
tonight. Hey,
Hi, Brandon. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm
good.
great. We're doing great, great, great. We're gonna give people a few minutes to join
Come on
in.
in. Come on in. Go ahead and show that crest smile.
I like it. I like it. It's been a long day for you. I saw that you
I
had
see you've
like
been busy today.
like some lives before, like trust the black trust the black girl Thursday, something like that.
It's Trust Black Women Thursdays.
Oh
Yeah.
I
my
love it. I'm
God,
like winning Wednesdays and trust the Black Girl Thursdays.
that
I'm
was
like these little
amazing.
vibes. Like I'm all
What gave
for
you
it.
that idea, though?
Huh?
What gave you that idea?
Um, I mean, we were doing at the beginning of the quarantine, we just were doing something every day. So Black Men Mondays, King Talk Tuesdays,
Okay, King
Black
Talk
Women
Tuesday.
Wednesdays, Trust Black Women Thursdays, Fallen Black in Love Fridays.
Oh,
Oh, I
Um,
remember
nice.
that. That's how I got hip. Falling Black in Love Fridays. I
I
was like, what
love
is this?
those.
so
Yeah,
just a way to show create content, but also highlight amazing people in their endeavors and highlight Black love.
yeah.
So just
Awesome.
Very creative. I think it's great.
Yeah, that was absolutely great. And the conversation today was just like amazing. Oh, we're losing
Yeah,
you.
we're having a moment. We all right. We all
sorry.
right.
Internet don't want us to be great. You know how
Yeah.
that goes. When the conversation is about to be late, there's always some technical issues
hmm
happening. Uh,
We know that's right.
people are coming in. Welcome,
Welcome,
guys.
everybody.
So, we're gonna introduce ourselves, and then we're gonna let you introduce yourself. For your
Congratulations.
followers and you for our followers. My name is Carlita. I'm the founder behind His Chosen Ship, and this is.
Natalie, co-founder, His Chosen Sheep.
So what we try to do through our blog is actually invite people to share their testimony in order to just give like hope and insight for people who are still struggling through what some of us have grown through.
Right, right,
So this month we each month we kick off with like a specific team,
right.
and this month we are in the team that's called Led to Lead, where we talk about like submission of
hmm
leadership and what that means. And we just had a brilliant idea to invite Brandon in to talk about what is the male ministry and what it
Right,
means um, for him to be led to lead.
right.
You want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. And so let's lead really, as Carlita said, it's a lot about, being a leader, but submitting to God in that process and understanding his purpose and plan for your life,
Mm,
but how those fruits are now being used and what you're doing with them to impact others. So of course we all know that leadership, plays a big role in a lot of different things, but I think we are called as his children to his chosen sheep to kind of lead others and kind of help them develop and grow. And I feel like the Black Man Can is doing a great job of that. It's kind of caught my eye like a while back, and I said, "This is a great organization."
yeah.
And then I was like, "Wait, there's a guy behind this organization." And I was like, we have to have a chat with him because you make it look so seamless. I mean, this organization does great things, and I think a lot of people don't realize that it is a nonprofit. It's not just an Instagram page, but
Yeah.
we're honored to have you on here to discuss more about you, more about the Black Man Can, the male ministry associated with that, and just your passion behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for thinking enough of the work to bring me on. It's humbling, and I'm just here to answer questions, and hopefully it can inspire people to pursue excellence with impeccable effort.
That's
Awesome,
amazing.
awesome.
Um, so who is
Yeah. Who's Brandon Frame?
Exactly.
Mr. Frame.
Brandon Frame is a Renaissance man with social conscience and global perspective. Brandon Frame is a role model, a scholar, and a gentleman. Brandon Frame
Love it.
is a guy just trying to do his part to make a difference in the world.
Amazing.
Okay. So what I'm really curious about is that we all have like, and if people haven't read, there's a great blog post about Brandon's journey and how he's come to this point in his life where he's been led to lead and help others. But there's always a seed that we have that, we will grow as we learn and develop and find that passion within ourselves. What was that for you for the Black Man Can? What was that motivating force?
One of my favorite quotes is, once you make an observation, you have an obligation. So
Wow,
That's
that's deep.
powerful.
I made an observation that Black men and boys need to see positive images of themselves, need to have their stories told.
Right.
And so therefore I have an obligation to create it. 10 years ago, started a blog, and then now that blog has grown into a nonprofit organization. And just, like I said, just doing our part, just thinking creatively, innovatively around what we can do to showcase positive images, what we can do to create and amplify what Black men and boys can do.
Amazing. Whew, I'm over here like, yeah, that's
once
great.
Once you make an observation, you have to an obligation. That's amazing. So I want you to talk about what the Black Man Can is, like behind the Instagram post that we see and that we all love, like what it is, what do you guys do, what are some of the initiatives that you guys are actually involved in?
Absolutely. Great question. So the Black Man Can is a nonprofit. So we have multiple different things that we do. One is the Building a Better Brother Summit. So we do conferences in different communities across the country. So it'll be like a full day conference with keynote speaker, workshops. All the boys receive ties. They receive copies of the Black Man Can Journal. Redefine the World, a guided journal for boys and men of color. We do the Black Man Can Awards. We have the Black Man Can Does Hair Too, which is a daddy and daughter event. We have
wow.
My First Tie, which is tied to.
I know I was going to ask you about that book, but yes, since you brought it up, it's amazing.
We go to schools and read to young people, elementary school students, and they receive the book and receive ties. So it's multifaceted, but all tying back to what we do to make sure we create, amplify, celebrate, educate, and inspire Black men and boys.
Amazing.
That's awesome. I think one of the, especially with what's going on today, I think that, and I think I was watching one of your other lives and you made this great comment about the perspective between education and school and how like in our community, school is something that's frowned upon, but you made this it was a great introspection. Could you talk more about that today, about just changing that mindset, that shifting of mindset behind education?
Yeah, I think that with our young people, there's a disconnect. People don't not think education is cool. People don't think school is cool, right?
Right.
School and the system that we put together don't allow for positive self-identity development to be developed in our young people. It doesn't allow for creativity to thrive, right? And so that makes school like something that's not cool, something that you don't want to be a part of.
Yeah.
But education, people do want an education. People want to learn how to do something that allows for them to live out their passions or things that they are interested in, or things that they like to do. We all have to get an education in that. There's no job that anybody's doing is just like, boom, or you have to get the skills, right? It doesn't even if you're an athlete, you're an artist.
Right.
You have to get skill development. Denzel Washington as a coach, right? You know what I'm saying? So people want to get educated, but not everybody likes school.
Go ahead. I was saying something, but I'm all about I think that's amazing. I think for me too, in our community, as far as education, identity plays a huge role with that.
Yep.
And as far as the Black Man Can, with what and I think My First Tie book is kind of associated with this. How is it that you're strengthening identity in these Black and brown boys and trying to build that aspect of knowing who you are and following that passion and learning to be educated? What you're going to say?
Yeah, I think I was going along those lines as well. Like in terms of understanding your identity and finding your talent, which some people call talent, but which can also be attached to your purpose,
Right.
like, and walking in it. Like, if you want to be like um, a barber, be the best barber. If you want to
Right.
be a scientist, be the best at it. Like, it's not that much about like, some professions are better than others. It's more about like pursuing your passion. And yeah, like, how do you move from like that identity place, and helping them actually not even just find, but like restructuring their identity, and
Right.
unlearning some of the thing that we have in society, some of the thing that society has put on them,
Hmm.
to actually redefining themselves.
I mean, that's like probably the importance of like some of our programming,
Right.
because you don't really get that in school. You won't get that taking U.S. history class or even world history class.
Yeah.
And so we have to provide opportunities and we have to create spaces for our young people, our young men, as well as our young women to develop that positive self identity and know that they belong in the world, that they deserve that they are deserving of to lead,
Yeah.
that they belong
Right.
to the table, that the opportunities that are there are for them, and they can be leaders in that retrospect, and they're not there moving past just like surviving to
Yeah.
thriving. That we
That's
Yeah.
survive,
powerful.
Yeah.
thriving, that we are deserving.
Right.
And so like it even ties in sometimes to like getting a job, and you're like, oh man, I'm just happy to have this job. Like, no, this is I'm deserving of this job. Like,
Wow.
'cause
Right.
that's what keeps you from asking the salary that you should get, because
That's a
Yeah.
big. That's a big one.
happy.
Right.
It's not about being that you should be happy or thankful that you got the job. That you're deserving of that job. You worked really hard for that job. You have the skill set in
For
order to be
that job.
successful.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I think that's
powerful.
great, because a lot of the thing, I think also because of the history that Black people have been through, is like you are lucky you have it versus you study and you actually deserve it. I think
Right.
that's absolutely powerful. And talking about the male ministry, there are a couple of things that we want to talk about.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna be like, I have a question, and I'm sure
This is
I'm
like.
just the kind of person that
This is what happens when you get his children late at
address
night.
the elephant in the room. Okay, that's just me. Is Brandon Frame hashtag the Black Man Can single?
There was a pause.
There is still a pause.
I'm like,
Um,
nah, no.
He's like, let me think about it.
Well, I think the reason why I'm gonna let you ponder for a second and give you a. I think the reason why we asked that is for the male ministry. I
Yeah.
mean, we're thinking about definitely. Is he blushing?
Welcome to his chosen sheep.
Listen, no holds barred. This is what happens to the ship after dark, okay? But in any case, I think with the being led to lead, of course, in the Black Man Can, very important because we're
Yeah.
building up the brown and black young men. And I think your blog talks about being better to do better and talking to adult males who are trying to lead, whether it be in their household,
Yeah.
especially, when we're talking about, being as followers of God, we are trying to there's a whole aspect of submission, and we're having
Yeah.
that, building men to be able to lead their families and lead others around them. I think what is important to us is kind of finding out if you haven't gone through that. Let's say as a man, you haven't had this Black Man Can in your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now you're walking this path, and you talked about being better to do better.
How do you get there?
Yeah, what does that look like?
I mean, are we talking
I'm
about this
loving
in?
the commentary though, because they're going in.
Are we talking about wanting to be better in terms of like, I guess, are we talking about like romantic relationships, or are we talking?
I
What are
think
we?
wholeness. I'm talking just
Just
wholeness.
generally
Yeah,
speaking, I think
generally speaking.
it start with the house, because I believe that the home is like the nucleus of like the community as a big, like somebody that is like raised and well, of course, is a good leader in society, is a good person in society, right? Versus somebody who didn't have the same opportunity to have like parents that were like focused on their education, focused on. When I talk about education, generally speaking, I'm not just talking about like the knowledge from school, but I'm also talking about the kind of like knowledge that you get in terms of like lifestyle, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of like life management, people management, and all those different things that you learn from a family nucleus when you are like a children.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we're talking about leading, so you know what? I'll tell a story. I think to try to maybe pull this together in terms of the role that things that we may struggle with and things that entangle some of the previous comments that I've already shared. So one of my favorite movies is The Lion King, right?
Okay,
That's powerful.
I'm fucking leaning on this one.
After this, you may look at The Lion King differently after I say what I'm about to say, but
Listen, I need to take notes, okay?
The Lion King is one of my favorite movies. We're talking about the old Lion King, not the new Lion King. The old Lion King.
Okay.
The original.
Okay.
So when we think about this movie, right, we start with Simba, right? And remember that scene, "Can't wait to be a king," right? And him singing that song, right? That represents so many of our black boys. That represents so many black men at one point in life. They were happy. I can't wait to be a king. You have that black boy joy, right? That black boy joy is revolutionary, right?
Right.
And so, okay, so Room, right? Now, you fast forward a little bit in the movie, right? Mufasa dies, right? Scar kills Mufasa. But what this scene represents is trauma, right?
You say trauma?
Wow.
It's trauma, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what can happen with trauma, right? There's trauma that is too good, is too much too fast, and too much too long, right?
And
but
within too.
you get trauma, right? But sometimes what happens to us, especially as men, all people, but we're focusing on men in the male ministry, is that you get arrested at the state of your trauma, right? You become incarcerated for your trauma, right? And so about that, and Simba runs away, right? And now Simba is out. He meets Timon and Pumbaa, but like Simba is in the jungle, right?
Here it comes.
I think first he was in the desert. Let's talk about that.
The desert, the jungle. But the thing here is that he's eating bugs, right? What that represents is his lost sense of identity.
Yes.
Right. Remember who he is.
Yes.
Right. He has forgotten that he is a king. He sees like I just want to be out here. I just want to live in life. Hakuna Matata.
Even his language has changed at that point because he was accepting a language from different people that were below him that were actually I would say if he was himself, that would be like animals that he would actually chase
and eat.
That is he is now under.
I mean, I think that, but I think more just the idea of just him. Aside from that, he's just eating bugs, right? So he's lost his sense of identity of who he is. Right? And so first, right, we can talk about how important black women are because the first piece is right. Then he runs into Nala.
Yeah.
Right? Nala's like, hey, Nala's like, hey, you need to come to Pride Rock. You need to return home.
So what's wrong with you?
That's an example of how many times black women lie to us and stand in the gap with us, right? And we get into how we ignore that and how we abuse them. That's a whole other conversation. But I'm just saying,
a whole other conversation.
Yes.
Right, how a black woman is always there, and we have to trust black women, right? That's why I trust black women.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, boom. He's still lost, right? He still got the fall into love, here you can love tonight, you got all that,
Come
whatever.
on
right?
now.
Wait, here we go. Then Rafiki's like, oh shoot, Simba's alive, right? So he chased Simba down, right? And so then he brings Simba goes to the water, right? He brings him to the water. The first time that he looks in the water, he's like, yo, I don't know who that is, man. That's a boat.
That's deep.
That is deep. Yeah.
He's lost again his sense of identity. He doesn't know who he is, right? So Mufasa comes from the sky, right? And Mufasa's like, remember who you are. Remember who you are. And now, and Simba now resembles first. That shows how important our fathers are. It shows how important the elders are, right? In terms of
come on, the male ministry.
And that mantle passing that has to happen, right? That doesn't happen, things fall apart, right? So now Simba's like, oh shoot, I gotta go back. I gotta return home to the Pride Lands, right? And so he goes to the Pride Lands. But first, what the Pride Lands actually represent is Flint, Michigan, Compton, California.
Okay, I'm about to throw my shoes because this is so good.
That have been ravaged, right? Are food deserts, right? Or have extreme poverty, right? And so it's important for us as men to develop and get that intergenerational mantle passing so that we can always make sure that we assume leadership roles in our communities so that they don't actually turn out the way that they do, or that they are currently, right? And so that's like the Lion King. And so like we're talking about the male ministry and how all this is interconnected, and it's really important because we can't have our communities looking like that. There is a place in which men as leaders, right? But leaders that are servant leaders, right? Ones that are not able to take bribes and allow for red tape and bureaucracy to get in the way of what's right and right for all people. Right? And so, you know, that when you're talking about the male ministry, that's, you know, just think about that's how it's all like interconnected and why we have to make sure that we take that mantle, right? Because there is a place that we're supposed to be in our communities as leaders, but not misogynistic leaders, right? Not sexist leaders, right? But leaders who are not just men who live in a place of defining themselves by masculinity. Because the problem with that is that when you put yourself in a place of defining yourself by masculinity, it's usually adjectives such as brave, strong, machismo is in there. What happens is that there's always going to be a time where you find yourself in the valley. And if you still are holding on to that idea of what it means to be a man, that turns your actions into rage, anger, depression, and anxiety. Right? And so now you do those same that action against people, against women, against your wife, against your kids, and against your family, and where that's how things go astray. And so we have to talk about being man up. We have to open up, right? Listen. We have to know that vulnerability is strength. All right,
my God.
And being able to communicate, right? And working on that. Like we know that science research shows that women have like 12,000 more words in their vocabulary than men. Right. Know. So what that shows is that as when we're young, we have to really develop those communication skills of our young men so that they can effectively communicate. There's no woman on earth that hasn't said to some man or some boy like, you know, you just don't communicate. You don't tell me what's wrong. Right? That's because we're not taking the time to learn to open up. Right. And know open up is also tied to your manhood.
Let me just summarize this. Not manning up, but opening up.
Vulnerability is a strength.
Vulnerability is a strength. Knowing the importance of the stand that the sisters and the female have in a man's word, and how he even go for his purpose. Knowing who we are in terms of identity, knowing the father's voice, knowing the elder's voice. I mean,
and I think
that was so much.
No, it's definitely in what I feel is revelation to the movie, because you know we're all going to look at the movie differently, as you said.
Absolutely.
But I feel like we just covered this past month health is wealth, and the importance of, you know, amongst our community, mental health and seeing a therapist, understanding that there's no stigma attached to that. And I think a lot of it for us growing up is a culture, and it's been a systemic thing that we've grown up to understand that it's a bad thing. And I think what you're talking about now is just kind of highlighting the aspect or how important it is as an adult male or an adolescent or whatever it may be to be able to lead.
I love the questions. How old are you?
Oh yeah, people want to know. See, since you bypassed that first question,
let's come back to the question. Because I know.
But the thing is, though, it's that I mean, vital. It's vital. The wholeness, understanding your true self.
Yeah, that's true.
To be able to lead is just that was just a great message.
And I think even like in the way that the series was structured in terms of like finding identity, being healthy and strong, and like, you know, secure in our identity, and now moving to the aspect of like understanding that we are leaders. Even like if you don't lead, you're not leading like people in general, you are leading yourself, like taking responsibility of your life and of your, you know, what you want to do and how you want to do it. And something that a lot of people are now trying to understand is how important it is to have like a voice, like somebody like a mentor in your life. Like, and I think that's one of the things that the Black man can do, does, is that you guys mentor your black, brown and black young boys in the community to see life and to be better, to do better. And I think that's absolutely like amazing. And guys, we have pinned the Brandon's like page and the Black Man Can page.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is a blog behind it as well. Like, let us know how are some of the ways that people can support what you do.
Yeah, I mean, we are a nonprofit, so through the www.theblackmancan.org, you can donate to the organization.
Okay. Yeah.
We also have on the www.theblackmancan.com, we have our merchandise if you want to want to support in that way as well.
Right.
Just follow us and continue to spread our message. You know, and like when people talking about, man, we need more positive images or I don't see enough, point them to the Black Man Can. Tell them to check out some videos so you can see what Black men are doing and accomplishing and how we are showing up in the world.
No, it's definitely, it's great. I mean, I've been kind of following the content, and I feel like most of the, everything that's on there is something that is, transformative. It's kind of like, I think I saw this most recent one about the guy that broke down the aspect of having a child and what the emotional healing that it would require for you to be able to be a parent. And like, just because you see, because we're all in this, like, either it's an Instagram stage or somebody's being canceled. Like we're all in this like social media time frame. And he had talked about people putting things online just to say, hey, I have a relationship, I have that, but that it costs so much out of yourself to be able to be that leader for someone else in that sense.
Yeah.
So that was a powerful thing.
That's totally amazing.
Yeah.
So how does what does it look like for the Black Man Can to do relationship right? Like courting to moving to being serious about being committed, and once you are in that relationship, you talked about like communication. How does the Black Man Can communicate? What does that look like in the male ministry that you want to share with us today?
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of stuff I tie, I guess maybe that aspect of things to like spirituality too. And not everybody knows, but I guess for me, that's kind of how I do it. So like, one, it's like, he who findeth a wife findeth favor in the Lord, right? And so, but you have to kind of grasp what that concept means. And it doesn't mean that, on your own, you're not going to have blessings and happiness, but it means that through commitment, you'll have another level of blessings and happiness that comes into your life because it comes through her, right? And so, you can't think of it like, oh, I want all my ducks in a row, or it's going to happen when it's supposed to happen. Be intentional about it, right? It's a woman. I believe it's a man's job to show interest. Not to say that women can't shoot their shot. Definitely shoot your shot. If you see something you like, shoot your shot.
Shoot the shot.
You said it.
A man should show energy, intentionality, and then a woman follows that with reciprocity, right? So like you should send the energy towards a man until he has shown that it's energy that you should then reciprocate. That's kind of what I kind of think there. And so it's on men to really understand what that looks like. One, is thinking about you showing up and realizing if you are a self-sufficient man, right? And so as a self-sufficient man, you're able to find a self-sufficient woman, and then you come together and build. I think, thinking about generations past, where we're taught, we've ingrained too much about being like this provider and protector and defining solely to protect, as opposed to the idea of building together, right? And so you have where you are, you have where I'm at, and then we come together and we build in one dynasty.
And it's
something amazing, but we weren't necessarily like, that's something I had to learn, right? It's not something that like was necessarily taught to me, because what I saw and even reinforced through media is that as a man I gotta be provider, protector. If I'm doing that, then I'm doing enough. And even when we're thinking about it, that's not even enough, right? There's we put so much pressure on women to do so many things, and we're not doing all the same things that we can do to make a relationship work. And like everybody here, everybody watching, all of us right here, we know what to do to get somebody. That's easy.
That's
check that on the box, but not everybody knows what they got to do to stay together. And so it's important for all of us to make sure we also share our best practices in terms of things that we do. It's not that there's no silver bullet. There is no book you're going to read and say, if you do it this way, it's going to work.
Right.
That doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is share best practices, and say like, here's the way that I did it. Here's the way that I do it. And even for men, what's important for us to create those spaces to have those conversations. I think about like one of my friends. We had a get together. We'll say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things is about creating the safe spaces. And so we had one of the men was like, how can we be helpful? That was one of the questions. Like, what can people here help you with?
Yeah.
Right. And so one guy shares like, hey, my wife just had a baby, and so, about the 6th, 7th, 8th month mark or something like that, but she's dealing with postpartum, and she's not feeling sexy. I'm trying to do thug thizzle, but she's not really trying to do the thug thizzle because she ain't ready.
Grown up conversation.
I love it. The thug thizzle, that's going into my vocabulary.
She's still dealing with trying to get back to feeling sexy and wanting to allow you to see her body. That's a real thing that women go through.
Question. Yeah,
that's real.
But what's also real about that is that the support that she needs from her man in the process, right?
Yeah.
Has been in the process, and by him sharing that, there were other men who have multiple kids. So then they were able to share, like, yo, here's some strategies, here's some things that I did, and then he was able to go back and put those things into play, and then be able to support his wife because he was a new dad, he's a new husband.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes you're not going to just go read a book. You're not going to just Google it, right?
Yep, right.
You need those spaces where you can share, because we know when we create spaces with men, all it takes is one black man to say, or share and be emotional and be vulnerable, and all the other black men will be vulnerable. And then what it also creates is a system of knowing that you're not on an island by yourself.
Come on,
a lot of people, as women, but we're focusing on men, right? You really think that you're on an island by yourself. You think you're the only one that's dealing with these issues, or and really thinking about it. But we have to come together to share and talk about how we can get better to do better, right?
Yep.
It comes through sharing of information. It comes through creating systems for us to actually heal and restore, just like women do when they go to their brunches and their summits and the circles that they create. That's not. There's nothing wrong with that. That also is tied to, your masculinity or your
Yeah, I think one of the things that you talked about is like the barber, the Black ManCan. You guys have something like with barbers, and I think one of the things that I've seen from, I'm not American, but like from the American culture is the barbershop culture where men had like that kind of space where they can come and sit and talk about like different things from the community, and I feel like we don't have that anymore.
Oh no, that's done. Like Rona's kind of easing its way, but that
even outlet, before Rona, I feel like people don't share anymore.
Right.
Like what does it look like the barber initiative that you have? Like what is the format of it?
Yeah.
I think my barbershop has like those. I've had those moments in my barbershop. Some barbershops have that kind of energy and create that kind of space, and some don't. It just varies, by the barbershop and the type of atmosphere they want to create. But I think that does exist, but just in different pockets.
I think one of the impactful thing that you had mentioned was that people don't want to share, and it takes the one. And then I think what I get from that is that it's that spirit of fear, like that spirit of isolation and that spirit of judgment. And for me, being that, I've worked a lot in the corporate world, I've worked a lot in business, I see it as like sometimes too, it is spiritual, but I also see it as systemic. We've been ingrained to know that we shouldn't talk to one another about particular things, or this person's going to try to keep me down, especially in like different environments, as far as just, one, instead of helping each other build, we kind of break each other down. And so how is it that you have dealt with that in your experiences and leading others, is that when you see those folks that are dealing or battling with that, making that space comfortable enough, how do you kind of go through, what has been your steps in which to do that?
Yeah, and even like before you answer, I would say like, what is your struggle history from the Black ManCan? Because what we've learned is that you started in 2010 to what it is right now in 2020, because people see it now in 2020, but like there is a process behind it. Can you share that with us a little bit?
Right.
I think the process for me, I'm a doer type of person. Like I'm like, hey, a doer with a little bit of strategy, right? So it's like, I got this idea. Here's a little bit of a strategy around to execute it and then put it out there. And no, I believe no matter what I put out, it's gonna be good. But I know it can be a masterpiece. But you can't start at masterpiece. You have to start at good. I think a lot of times people want to just create the masterpiece from the start, and so you get stuck in actually trying to put something forth, right? So you have to be like, all right, I'm gonna do this little event. I'm gonna have the basics. Like I remember the first time we did like our conference. I'm like, oh, all right, we need to have some food, feed everybody. We need to have a giveaway. We need to have works. Like what? Like sometimes when you think about something, what's the basics that you need, right? And if you basics, did we have like things hanging up and just how pretty and cool it could have looked? Absolutely not. But did we have everything? You went to a conference. You expect you expect to have an entry point, do a little name tag action, get an opening remarks. You want a keynote. You want to have another plenary, and then go some more workshops. Close it out, right? Like I mean, that is as a workshop. So we're gonna do it, and then we start innovating as we go. And so I think for me, that's what I've done over time. I'm like, we can start this, and then you put it out there, and because you can't critique it until you put it out, right? So you put it out, and then you're like, oh, that didn't work so well, or that worked really well. People like this, they didn't like that, and then do it. And then no matter whatever you put out, I believe you have to commit. You cannot put out anything without committing, saying to yourself that you're committed to doing it for 24 months. Yeah. If you can, you say, you know what, I'm going to do this for 24 months. That means that on the end of that 24 months, you should have something amazing. You should have something that is much bigger than you ever thought it was going to be. Right. The time, the effort, you were consistent and you were persistent over time.
Consistent and persistent. 24-month commitment. Yeah. I mean, we just got started with the blog. We started.
I know. I feel hopeful.
we have room to grow. Thank you so much. Like, I mean, and I think one of the. Do you have more questions?
Yeah, the question that I was going to ask is, so just to kind of circle back. So for you, in that 24-month period, when did you come across those moments where you were fearful? You had you were facing those challenges. What did you do to kind of overcome that? Did you have that creative, that space of men to kind of say, hey, this is what I'm doing, what's the next step, how do I do this?
I would say I would say that it was also a different time, like 2010. There wasn't, social media isn't what it is now. I just kept going, right? I think it's about being consistent. I just knew that if I was consistent and persistent, and I was just more so consistent and persistent because like people actually started reading and sending us notes saying thank you or leaving comments on articles and stuff. And I was like, yo, you have to be, once you get an audience, even if it's 5 people, those 5, if you say you're going to post every Monday, those 5 people are looking for you
Monday. Every Monday, right.
You put something out and you just be consistent with it. And then over time, it'll gain some traction. People will share it. If it's good, right? That's another thing, like, to be good, it's got to be quality. And so I never ran into like being fearful. The only thing that ever happened that really was like something that held me back a little bit was in 2013, we had our website on, I forgot, on the hosting on this one place, and then whatever happened and somehow it crashed, right? So we lost everything. So we had lost everything for like the past 3 years, and we had to rebuild the website over time in like 2 weeks, right? And so that was probably the only time when it crashed and we lost everything. I was like, man, maybe we had a good run, but then I was like, no, we have an audience. We have people that want to see what we're talking about, believe in what we're doing. And so I had to push through and make it happen.
Amazing. Yeah. So you push through those moments, like that particular moment in 2013 where like, did you literally say, I just want to give up? Or did you just say, okay, I guess this is the end?
Yeah, I did think about, giving up with that. But then I was like, it's kind of like, some people like, we hear it a lot in hip hop music and people will reference it and they be like, yo, I do this for my haters. Shout out to the haters. And I don't know if I have any haters. I'm not sure. I'm totally and completely unaware if I have haters. Like that. What I do everything for is supporters. I do other people who have sent me amazing messages. All the people who have come to our summits. Like that is the driving force. That is the fuel. It's not like, people said I couldn't have it or what made it. Like And not saying that maybe there are people that are like that. I don't know, but that's not who I think about. That's not
Yeah.
who I
Exactly.
in my
Yeah.
mind. It's about support. Like, even when you're celebrating, right?
Right.
And you do flex and show a little bit of this success. Like, you're still doing that for the people that are inspired,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
also somebody who's like, I share resources like it's nobody's business. Like, if you hit me up and say, hey, I saw this, man, I saw your graphics, man. Who's your graphic? Oh, here's my graphic designer. Yo, listen, I'm trying to do a
Yeah.
trademark. Who's your attorney?
Right.
Oh, here's my attorney. Like, I don't
Yeah.
hoard
That's
information.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm, hey,
Generosity.
I believe in a mindset of abundance. There's enough
Come
for
on now. Giving
everyone.
is receiving.
Yeah.
However I can share and help somebody else, then that's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. I think
Yeah.
like and when you leave from that place of abundance, I think everything just like comes to you. And as much as you give, you receive, basically. And I think one of the things that you did say that was key is to focus on the right thing. Focus
Mm-hmm.
on who is for you, not who is against
Against you.
you, because that makes the whole difference. It's just like I love driving, and like I have plenty of analogies about like driving. Like you can drive a car wanting to go forward and you keep looking at the rear view or the side, like you're gonna hit something. So it's basically like you said, I think that's the secret.
Mm.
Focus on what is working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so far, the Black Man Can is working,
And it's working
and
amazingly.
it's a well-oiled machine. And
Yeah.
so my question is, what's on the horizon for you? What do you think is the next thing that the Black Man Can is up to?
We're thinking about, obviously we're in this digital age and thinking about how we can continue to amplify and create
Mm-hmm.
stories. We're looking at some going into a tech space and seeing what that actually looks like.
Okay.
So
Nice.
um, we're doing different partnerships with different big brands to produce and put out content as well.
Okay.
We have our merchandise, so we're continue to grow that, the SKUs and the merchandise. Yeah, I mean, we're just
Awesome.
continuing. I think the beauty is that we get to sit around and think like, what can we do to make things better for Black men?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
just sit and think just about that. We're not thinking
Yeah.
about anything
Right.
about
Yeah.
how can we improve life, improve anything for Black men. So
Right.
Yeah.
And I think during this time that we're in, life for a Black man is something that's been highlighted. You know what I mean? Even more
Mm-hmm.
so than it may have ever been before. And so, what are your thoughts as just, with the movement that's been going on with Black Lives Matters and of course, the whole everything with George Floyd to this point? Like, did we lose you? Oh no, we were kind of. Where are you on that? Like, what do you think that how the Black man community can be empowered through what's been happening?
say it
That's
again.
my dog. Say that again.
He didn't
I
hear
think
you.
Okay. So no, I was saying, what is it that during this time, how is it that Black men can be empowered based on what's happening in the world and all the things that we've been seeing happening, knowing that we're kind of also limited during this time where we're supposed to be confined and isolated?
Mm-hmm.
How is it that we can kind of help in our own communities to kind of build the Black man and highlight, what the Black man is doing in the life of the Black man and going forward?
I mean, I think it's just that. I think amazing things are happening in our communities, and men are
Yeah.
making remarkable
Mm-hmm.
contributions every day. And I
Yeah.
think highlighting those stories, telling a man, I see you, and continue to do
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Those
Right.
important, and 'cause that's what we do, right? Like even in this time, like we
Right.
can show how resilient we are. We can show how
Right.
what our goals and our dreams are, and that even in the midst of chaos and turmoil, even in the midst of feeling like you're
Yeah.
hunted as a Black man, knowing that just being pulled over could lead to you not being here anymore. Amidst all that,
Right.
there is joy, there is happiness, there is revolution, and even
Yeah.
thinking about how you show up in the revolution, how you
There
show
is
up in the
revolution. Yep.
and thinking about that as well, and owning that and
Yep.
being okay with the space that you occupy.
That's powerful.
That's great.
That's
How
powerful.
you show up in a revolution. I think
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, I was going to say there is community, but you say revolution. I think that's even more powerful because even the way we think about community, the way we are doing community in this season is completely different.
Right.
And that's amazing.
Right.
I mean, do you have more questions?
I think for me, the only thing I wanted to find out, as far as just what you're doing with the young Black men today, like, you know, I have a son, he's in college, and it's kind of like trying to reach out to them in a way that, you know, is highlighting them. And I think right now, as far as just schools, everything's kind of like on hiatus, and everybody's kind of trying to deal with how to kind of bring out the best of their kids, to help them grow in this process, and kind of lead them into a place where they're growing and developing. I think with the Black Man Can, I know you do a lot of things with young boys. How is it like? How is that being affected by what's happening right now in the community, as far as just like?
I think, you know, everything's virtual. So in June we did a virtual Young Men Summit. It went really well. We had young men from all over the world participate. We're looking at doing a few more of those, so creating the spaces virtually until we can actually get back and do it in person. Right now, we happy hours with different men just to come together and talk. So kind of some of those same things, just doing it virtually. And then through that, thinking about, in terms of even what we're thinking about moving forward, what does it look like to create a digital community where men can get in their be able to get knowledge and information, so as and tools, so that they can be successful for themselves, society, and their families.
Amazing, amazing,
I mean,
guys.
it's kind of digitalizing.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, like, I know you've had a long day, so we're not gonna hold you too long. But I just wanted to thank you first of all for just like, you know, your generosity, like throughout the process of since we've contacted you, and your availability, and just like, you know, humility, humility, and just being okay with our own process, you know, and how we do things. Like, thank you very much, even like for everything, and just for sharing your story and encouraging people. We see you, okay? We see what you're doing, and I
see you.
And we do really like appreciate what you are bringing in the word in terms of like change and transformation, and the transparency behind it. Like, thank you so much. And we hope to have you again, maybe, who knows, for another chosen moment with you as Brandon for another subject. Who knows?
It's an honor. You know, I want to talk with everybody. I want to connect with people. Like, I hope that we meet in person. And where are you guys? Right? Are you in New York?
Massachusetts.
We're in Boston, right?
Oh, so listen, I'm a grad student at Boston University, so I have to make sure.
I just graduated from there.
and go to dinner, go for lunch.
Absolutely.
Meet and talk. I'm like one of those people. I want to meet everybody. I don't. You know, I want to.
Yes, we are the same.
I believe what's important is to connect the islands of success, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All of us have to do our little parts in our little part of the world. We can also come together and share and build, so that, like, hey, you're doing something in Boston. I'm like, you know, hey, we're doing something on this weekend. You know, can you pull up? Yeah, absolutely. We're doing this in New York. Can you pull up? Absolutely. You know, like that's what the beauty of it is. Like, when I think about with the Building a Better Brother Summit, so we have this mentor network of 200, 300 men. Wow. You know, and sometimes guys, the first time they haven't seen each other since the last, you know, summit. But then see guys going off to do stuff together because they met at a summit. Right, that's the connecting of right, and knowing, like, oh, there's synergy there, and we can work together to build and to create change.
That's
awesome. That's
amazing. So you are based in New York, right?
Yes.
Oh, we are in New York very often. So definitely. And I think my one question, which is gonna be the last one from my end to you tonight, is like, has the Black ManCan thought about being international? Because this right here needs to go around the world. Like, that's my anointing right here. Like, have you thought about going international?
Aside from our reach on social media, we did our first international summit this past year, actually, before COVID-19 happened, and we did a summit in the Bahamas. So
listen, I'm going.
I'd be like, women volunteer.
It was really powerful, and you know, just meeting some of the young men throughout the Bahamas, and you know, just that like, you start to see that there's definitely nuances because of our cultures and our ethnicity, but then, like, there's also connectivity because we're Black men, and sharing that and share the things that make us different, but also make us unique. So
Yeah,
In a
absolutely.
space too where it's an environment that creates peace and
Yeah.
tranquility, and you know what I mean, like, and
Yeah.
it's not, I think sometimes like the best experiences are things that are outside of your bubble.
Yes, she said 80 next. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Haiti, definitely.
Aaron
Definitely.
Sharper, Aaron, that's very true.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon.
So if for all of our folks, please follow Brandon at Brandon Fame or at The Black Man Can. Definitely go to theblackmancan.com.
Absolutely.
Follow up, donate, definitely
Donate,
give
yes.
back.
Support our brother, please.
Support our brother. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming on tonight. Definitely appreciate.
And we definitely going to be in touch because a lot of the things that you do here, we're doing internationally. So
Yeah.
that'll be
So we
another
would
way
love
to
to
connect.
kinda
Absolutely.
bridge that gap. That would be amazing.
Thank you again for this evening of like amazing conversation.
I'm never gonna forget this Lion King video. I'm just saying for the record.
The old version is the best one though.
Yeah,
that's just my my take on it. And for you guys who have been connected with us, we hope that you've had like a great time throughout this conversation. If you are catching the replay, thank you, and we hope that you enjoy the conversation. Yeah. And Brandon, thank you so much. And again, congratulations to your mom for wedding.
Congratulations to mom.
thank you.
Goodbye, everybody, and
Bye,
we'll see you next week.
Have a good night.
Bye.